Welcome back everybody to linuxacademy.com. My name is Terry, and in today's course we continue our preparation for the Linux Foundation Certified System Administration exam. Today we're going to be talking about HTTP services, and this is part 2 of our Install and Configure Apache Web Server. In our previous video, we took the systemd route for installing and configuring Apache Web Server on a systemd system for CentOS as well as Red Hat. And although modern versions of Ubuntu are running systemd, we wanted to run through the installation on an Ubuntu system and how we can manage after we do the install for that particular system. Using an Ubuntu system that happens to be a sysvianet, which is the last version of Ubuntu that was using a sysvianet system, which is based on Ubuntu 14.04 LTS. So the first thing that we'll do is slightly differently using the package manager appropriate to Debian or Ubuntu systems. We'll use apt-get, and unlike our CentOS installation, it won't be referred to as HTTPD. It actually will call out the Apache 2 system package. So once we're logged in, let's go ahead and become root, just to make our lives easier for the remainder of this particular video. So let's do an su-. We're logged into our Linux Academy lab server, and we're going to do a password for the user that we've created. All right. So now that we're logged in as root, let's do an apt-get install. In this case, we're going to do Apache 2. And Apache 2 will install a number of other dependencies and utilities that go along with Apache that we didn't see install for CentOS, but again, the Apache installation for each of the OSs varies based on the packages and dependencies for it. We'll also notice that there's a couple of things that are different from a Ubuntu perspective. So let's go ahead and clear here. We'll see that if we do a telnet on localhost on port 80, it's already set up for us. So, however, if you want to understand, again, being a sysvianet system, just like any other service, we can manage it by doing a check config on Apache 2 and turning it on, or a systemctl Apache 2 on, depending on the system that we're using. In this case, it's already installed. And then we can manage the service with a service Apache 2 and, for example, a restart. So we're restarting the web service. Now again, during the installation for Ubuntu, that was taken care of for us. One of the other things that we'll notice that's different in Ubuntu or Debian-based systems is that the configuration files are going to, and directories structure are going to look a little bit different. So unlike those, it's not etc HTTPD, it's etc Apache 2. So if we look here, we have the Apache 2 configuration file, which takes the place of the httpd.conf file, and we have configuration available, configuration enabled, mods available, mods enabled, sites available, sites enabled. So what does that mean? Well, unlike the Apache configuration that we looked at when we looked at our CentOS systems, by default, any vhost configurations are already externalized in these sites available and sites enabled sites, similar to the mods and configuration. In fact, if we look at configuration available, we'll see that we've got character set, security, etc. If we look at mods available, we'll see that we've got a whole bunch of different mods. If we look at mods that are enabled, it looks like they're links to those that are mods enabled. And if we look at sites available, we have the default and the default SSL site. And if we look at sites enabled, we just have the default site turned on. So how do we turn on or off a site from a vhost perspective for Apache? Well, that's easy enough. There's a couple of utilities for the configuration, for mods, and for sites that are called a2enmod, a2ensite, a2enconf for enabling, and then for disabling, it's a2dis for disable those conf mods or sites. So those are all externalized configurations, and they're all handled in the Apache configuration file. So if we take a look at that Apache configuration file, apache2.conf, let's look at where we have sites dash. So it tells us that it's split into a number of different files forming the configuration hierarchy so that it knows where to import those particular files. So including sites conf enabled, sites enabled, and if we look for conf dash, we'll see that conf enabled is also enabled here. So these, we could change these if we wanted to, but then that would defeat the purpose of the scripts that are used to enable either the configurations, the sites, or the modules for these particular directories. We can validate that this is now currently running, again by installing something like links. So we can do a apt-get install on links. And then once links is installed, we should be able to do a clear screen, and we'll do a links HTTP or HTTP localhost, which should then show us the Apache to Ubuntu default page, just like we saw links display the Apache default page for the CentOS system. Now, the more standard method, and the method that you will see if you happen to install Apache from another repo, or if you happen to try to build it from source, is even in the Ubuntu systems, you'll see the etc HTTPD version of Apache installed, meaning the configuration files are installed in HTTPD, and that's the standard installation. Ubuntu and Debian, they've added their own flair to this to hopefully make it easier to configure the vhost modules and configuration files in the system by adding those commands like a2ensight and a2enmod that enable you to read configuration files from one directory and automatically have them linked to the other. That way you don't accidentally include configurations or disable configurations by having to modify a long list of them from within the configuration file. Other than that, Apache works exactly the same as it does across distributions, at least in the 2.2 and 2.4 branch for these various distributions. So for installing and the initial configuration of the Apache web server for Debian and Ubuntu-based systems, that's all there is to it. My name is Terry for Linux Academy.